Take two. Sorry about the delay. And apparently not unmuting myself right away. Please forgive me for that. I had some minor setup issues. Obviously, we changed the background a little bit. Well, yeah. Me and my partner in design, she's very good at it. Um, so, as promised, to end off the new year, I'm going to read from a few authors that I really, really value. And I'm going to read from my new release that's coming up. Um, I am really looking forward to sharing these authors with you. Some of them, well, one of them is absolutely brand new. What I'm going to read from one of her uh, later drafts, not completed drafts, but her skill, you'll see, is really entertaining. She's funny. And then I'm hoping to also get in this sweet little romance author that writes some really fun stuff. And then I'm also going to read an excerpt, hopefully, from a dear friend who is one of the most talented sci fi romance authors I have ever read. Her stories are so complete, each character feels so alive. So, without further delay, I'm going to go ahead and read from Seeds of Revenge. Now, as a warning, this particular book comes after my original series. So if you've read my original series, which is the first four books in Xerox, um, then this will make some sense. I would call it an epilogue, but there's more to the story than just being an epilogue. Um, the story also comes before Ascension, which is the novel I released in October. So if you've read Ascension, then this is going to be a slightly different thing to enjoy. Okay, well, I guess we'll get into it. This will kind of show you some of the setup if you have read Ascension. Um, at the end of book 4 of Xerox the Fall, Gardesh made it possible for his sister to get away, and that's Krishna. And I'm going to start by reading a section of the story where Krishna introduces herself to a brand new group of characters. If you were listening to my live stream last on Friday, you would have heard me begin right about right before um, where I'm going to start. Krishna smiled and stepped around the corner, relieved to be looking at what appeared to be Tellurians. Perhaps I could assist. My name is Krishna. I am here to help. She maintained her broad smile. I expect you'll want to know about me. Her eyes landed on the smaller of the two women. My ship located yours. You appeared to be in trouble. I stopped to offer help, although it did take us some time to find you. The dark-skinned petite woman narrowed her eyes. What are you? How do you know our language? I am Ven. We're a species of people with similarities to your own. Having encountered many like you in our system, we have learned what is needed to communicate. Krishna stepped further into the room. Her womb spun visibly and then contracted. Watching the woman ahead of her, she feigned wincing for the next contraction. Please forgive me. I am with child. She placed her hand for her abdomen for a short while longer. The dark-skinned woman looked at the taller one. Doctor, perhaps you could learn to help as well? The woman referred to as doctor glared at the other. Just because you're the captain this shift doesn't mean to justify your attitude. You're not even suited for space travel the way we are. The captain turned back to Greshna. You said you could help? Thoroughly ignoring the other woman's comments. I can try. I know something about engineering and designs. May I see your... And Greshna paused her thoughts to hear theirs. Blueprints. The captain looked at the man. Yes. Victor, can you take her to the local medical lab? But bring a tablet with you in case you see a reason to share anything with our new guest. Victor, very tall, darker gentleman, approached the small, round Ven woman. Do you need help walking? She smiled. I should be able to manage. It's not far. If it's not far. Excuse me. She ensured he felt at ease with her. It's not, he said. And together they walked quietly through the halls beyond the room with a single table and a window all around it. He pulled on a handle on the door and looked partway down the hall. Loud clanking sound resonated through the walls as the door slid open. Inside the flat table, several devices in various sizes with no windows. Of various sizes and no screens. The whole room was bathed in a soft yellow artificial lighting embedded above and round the bed. I have so many questions, if you don't mind, and if we can work them into the repair process. Victor's voice seemed to crack as he spoke. His thoughts betrayed him as she read them, because she could tell he was excited about meeting what he termed an alien. I have many of my own, Greshna continued to her sweet tone. Of course. Here, can you share your technology? She smiled even broader at Victor. I'm sure I can help. Again, getting to know Greshna, you'll understand the more she says she can help, the more there tends to be a thing to be worried about. Not that Victor knows that yet. Hi, Walter. How are you? It's nice to see you. And thank you for your patience, Jason. I appreciate it a lot. I apologize again for the technical issues. Now, this is still going to go through another round of revisions before I get this released, but it will be out on pre-order by the 1st. I promised my Facebook group that they get a chance to read the book before everybody else. So I'm going to make sure they get to do that. I'm doing pretty good, Walter. It's a little bit hectic trying to get all the pieces together um, for today's live because I'm trying to read from other people too. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I apologize for the lighting flash. I've got a light bulb trying to go out, so that might alter things a little bit. Sorry about that if it does. The uh, the next section I'm going to read, just a little setup. The author generally goes by her first name, although she's debating on how she's going to present herself, so I'm not going to give you all of that just yet, as much as I would like to. What you can look for over the next couple of months is a book called The Elite Beginning, which is what I'm reading from. And then her completed first novel is Warrior's Quest. And that is the follow-up actually to An Elite Beginning. So I'm kind of excited about this. She is a young author. She is 14 years old. Her first book was actually released at 8 or 9. I'd have to double check that myself. But still very young. And it was just a short story for kids. And we're really excited about that. And I do mean we. This is my daughter we're talking about. So I have a slight bit of bias, I understand. But she's actually very, very talented. And I'm going to read to you one part that I find really funny. And this is where a bunch of the characters kind of get together. Two of them are kind of clashing. And one of them tries to step in and stop that. By the time he got over to Katniss, his head hurt. You knew they were going to put gas in that room, didn't you? She turned her head and laughed. Lance raised an eyebrow. What? Your mouth's a seal mouth. He covered his mouth with his hands, and which then turned into tiger paws, which just made Katniss laugh even more. It's not funny, Lance protested. Well, it kinda is. I didn't insult your ears and tail when they came out, or when you came out. She stopped laughing. Oh, you're taking it as an insult. Well, I mean, yeah. Sorry, I just didn't expect your mouth to be different, and it did look funny. His paws turned back into hands, and he felt his mouth turn back to normal. Hi, Seal. Didn't you think you'd be this ridiculous, or didn't think that you'd be this ridiculous? They heard. Katniss and Lance turned their heads to see a small group around. A small crowd circling around someone. Lance saw Katniss get tensed up. What are you doing? He asked. She didn't respond. She did go over to the group with purposeful strides. Seal was in the middle of the mall with his arms like as noodles. The rest of the group laughed. Seal looked at one of the people. You were so excited to know what was going to happen to me a few minutes ago. Well, I thought you were going to get something cool, not whatever this is. Hey, Treehead, Katniss provoked. What are you doing? Lance asked 2 feet behind her. The one who insulted Seal turned around and faced Katniss. Well, if it isn't the one who decides she can't deal with people talking about her, what do you want? You shouldn't insult other people's abilities. And who tells me so? You? Your abilities are just as much a joke as his are. After all, a monster isn't going to be afraid of a chick with fluffy ears and a fluffy tail. He laughed along with the rest of the group. Katniss kneed him in the gut. When he stepped back and held his stomach, Lance exclaimed, "Katniss!" She smirked. "Not so high and mighty now, are you?" "What the heck?" he growled. "Well, if your new adaptation is so good, then you would have been able to know that I was about to do that to you. Or you wouldn't have still been hurt, would you?" He narrowed his eyes and balled his fist before he could swing at Katniss, who sidestepped him, making him uh, fall on his face, or fall face first in the dirt. She was about to kick him if Lance didn't step in the way. "What are you doing?" she asked. "How about we just don't beat up the other students here?" "I really don't want you to get in trouble, Katniss." The other person stood and brushed himself off. "You're gonna pay for that, punk." Katniss flicked an ear. "Well, I didn't really, 'cause you fell on your face. You did that all on your own." "But you did knee him in the gut," a voice commented. They all turned to see a boy standing there with his arms crossed. Brown hair and a red shirt with a tan no-sleeve jacket. Black pants and yellow sneakers. He smirked. "If you all just leave each other alone, then I won't report anything that just happened in front of my eyes." The bully turned to him. "Who says so?" He put one of his fingers up and it lit on fire. "Well, I wouldn't test that, Tree Brain. Those branches on your head will be a whole lot of fun to light on fire." The bully growled and walked away with his followers. Seal lifted his noodle arms up and accidentally hit the boy in the face. "Whoops! Sorry! I didn't mean to hit you. What's your name?" He rubbed his cheeks. "It's Lennon." "And control your movements, would you?" "Lemon?" Lance asked. "No! Lennon!" "I'm not the only one who heard lemon?" Seal asked. At the ends of his noodle arms appeared lemons. "I don't care what your name is," Katniss said. "Just keep your interest to yourself. I had 'em." "Well, somebody with fluffy ears and a fluffy tail isn't really threatening." "I'll show you threatening, you washed up fire." Lance covered Katniss's mouth. "Thank you, Lemon, for helping us. And if you don't mind, we'll be leaving now." "It's Lennon!" Sorry. It made me giggle. That whole section, it's funny. She's vivid. And while she's very descriptive, she conveys it with such energy that is just funny. And I don't know how else to put it. It makes me laugh. I could see a bunch of kids getting together and, well, being kids. And, as they're each acquiring their new gifts, it was just awesome. And every time I read her work, there's something bright and energetic and fun to it. And I get to listen to her tell the stories as she's putting them together sometimes. And this is the kind of story that I'm looking forward to reading once it's been through the proper editing process and updates and it's ready to go out. She's really talented. The next author I'm going to read to you is KG Stutz. And she sent me an excerpt from Winter's Kiss, which is part of her Amethyst Chronicle series. And it's just a short excerpt. And I'm looking forward to this one. KG Stutz and I have been working together on and off for the last number of years. She's really, really gifted. and her stories are so much fun to read. She writes primarily science fiction and romance. She has a lot of action in her stories, a lot of energy, and she's always got this positive feeling of hope. She does a really good job with that. Um, so I'm going to read from Winter's Kiss is the first book of the series of the Amethyst Chronicles. Hey, Mom. Nice to see you. Uh, Amethyst Chronicles. This is the early in the book. You silly, stupid old man, Morris seethed, bitterness resonating in his voice. If you had listened to Wilson when she told you. I am well aware, Mr. Morris, the general said, his irritation beginning to show. But what's done is done, and I need your help to make it right. How long? Morris inquired. 2 years. Nova chuckled. We really did a number on your base. Apparently not good enough, Morris grumbled. You know she's going to be livid when she wakes, Nova said. Of course he does, Lewis snorted. Why do you think he reanimated us first? He knows she would put a hole in his head first chance she got. Nova laughed. You think we're going to help you keep Wilson subdued? I'm hoping to reason with her, Blanchard replied. Reason? Morris questioned. You mean like when she told you what Rudo was planning to do and you dismissed her? Then you tried to convict her of criminal charges? Yeah, and now she's been proven right. He thinks we're just going to fall in line. Nova rolled his eyes and he leaned against Hostatia's chamber. Clayton Rudo, a benevolent scientist, claimed to have the means to save our planet, General Blanchard defended. You were desperate and acted accordingly, Lewis countered. We all were. Is it so wrong to want something to believe in? You mean like a father believing in his daughter? Nova asked. The other two men whistled at the low dig. General Blanchard's eyes flashed as he balled up his fist. Nova chuckled. Temper, temper, General. Leave my personal life out of it. What personal life? The blonde princess you parade around is your only daughter. And you pretend like your firstborn doesn't exist? Lewis inquired. Wait, this woman is your daughter? Liam pointed to the fourth pod. Lewis looked him up and down before rolling his eyes. I'm not surprised you left that key part out, General. You must be ashamed. Question is, do you regret having a daughter who stands up for what's right, even if it means challenging you? Or is it that or does it eat you up deep down inside knowing she was right and you ruined her life? That's enough, Blanchard said. Truth hurts, General, Nova shrugged. Suddenly he stood up straight and began checking his pockets. Oh man, I'm out of gum. Forget your gum, Lewis grumbled. Focus. It'll be easier to focus if I have my gum. All right. Morris clapped his hands together. As much as it pains me to say anything in support of General Windbag here, Earth is in trouble if Rudo has activated his machine. The trio looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Wake Ember, Lewis ordered. We'll do it. So, that's an interesting conversation. And the whole story just goes from there. It is a snowball of emotions and intensity. And once you finish Winter's Kiss, you've got to pick up the rest of them. And she's got a third one coming out shortly. Fourth one? Third. Coming out shortly. I love this author. I love this excerpt. I love you too, Mom. I'm glad you were able to stop in on the stream today. Uh, I we'll make sure to include links to the books that I've read today in the description below. And as we go into the first stream of 2020, that sounds so weird. That sounds so weird. As we go into the first stream of 2020, we can look forward to many good things. Many books are coming out. Oh, I had intended on reading from Tiana LeBeau. Perhaps I'll save her for Friday. And I'll just read a little bit from her story, one of her stories. She's just released a new book. She's got a couple more coming out pretty quickly. Um, really looking forward to that. And there's a couple of other authors that I was really hoping to get some excerpts in from. One of them's actually in the chat with us today. His name is Jason Dodge. He's very, very good. He writes science fiction, and he's got just a short story out. It's been out for a while. I'd like to read a little bit of that. Although it's not very long, maybe I'll read the whole thing. But it's a whole lot of fun finding fun new books. And I'm glad to have been able to share this stuff with you. What are you looking forward to for 2020? What would you like to see discussed on the stream twice a week coming up? I'm happy to answer questions or discuss anything, but I'm also happy to share what I'm working on. Tomorrow, the year ends and a new one begins. And then promise of a new beginning. Just like every day and the beginning of every month, and now the beginning of a year, and soon the beginning of a decade. Enjoy. Capitalize on things that matter. And look ahead, knowing things will come together. I'll see you Friday.